What's going on? Welcome to another edition of Hustlers Kung Fu Live. Today we will be talking about the Dow Jones dropped 1,600 points, the S&P dropped 500 points, and the big drop in oil prices and what this means for you and your loved ones. If this is your first time here, this is Glendon Cameron, your hustling godfather. What we do here is we talk about the economy, and we use that information to build businesses. So one of the big things that's happening, and I want you to really think about this. There are many people who are laughing at the coronavirus. They're like, well, it ain't no big thing. It is a huge thing. And I'm going to break that down for you in bite-sized chunks. I'm going to break it down for you because I'm going to tell you what's going down with this and what does it mean. So hold on a second. Here we go. Wait a minute. Hold on. Okay. There we go. All right. So let me start at the beginning. Right now, China is in a recession. Let's be really clear about this. Why is China in a recession? China has a lot of its factories closed. And they've been going through this problem since December. They have a lot of their factories are closed. A lot of their people are told to stay at home. So this already reduced the consumption of oil because the factories and stuff are down. They're not putting out what they normally put out. And then now we have the slashing because Saudi Arabia is the biggest oil player in town, and they've got they're sitting on billions and billions of dollars of cash. So they can ride out a price war for quite some time and still be fun. This is the recipe, the coronavirus, the reduced output of China, the reduced consumption of oil, and the slashing of oil prices. This is the perfect recipe for a recession. Perfect recipe for a recession because what the crisis in China is just getting started. And what I mean by that is typically supply chains have some built-in surplus. So at some point, we're going to begin to feel the lack of output from China. We're going to begin to understand and feel that on a personal level. Um, Italy, Italy just quarantined like 11 million people, and folks are lined up in stores trying to get groceries and stuff because everybody's got to stay at home. This thing that so many people are laughing at is really big news. The coronavirus this could be the beginning of the next recession. And what does this mean for you? If you have a business that's dependent upon foot traffic, people getting in their cars, I've talked to some friends who flew recently. Planes are half full. If you're going through the airport, it's not going to take you as long to get through security as it used to because a lot of people are simply not flying. Planes are half full, a third full. This is really big stuff. And once we get to the warmer weather and this starts to reduce the number of infections and stuff with people, but the damage is already going to be done. So if you have a business that's requiring on people to come out, this may be um, an issue for you and your business. Nobody would be talking about this in 3 months. I'm going to disagree with you because the lack of production, China is the world's manufacturing base. Everybody's like, hey, let's China do it because let China, essentially what the world has said, we're okay with China polluting its environment because China doesn't have the environmental laws and stuff that most of the rest of the world don't. So it's like, fine, we don't care if you trash your economy so we can have some cheap goods. So China has epic environmental issues. So that's going on. And so I'm gonna really disagree with you. Well, nobody be talking about this in 3 months. The stock market has been going up and down since February. I guarantee you, if the stock market continues to do what it's doing, people be talking about it. Jairus, gold went up to 1,700 from 1,578 in a couple of weeks. Yes, Saudi Arabia is having a fight with Russia. Flights are dirt cheap. Time for a vacation. Spring break prices are normally high, but notice flights from San Diego to New Orleans, $49. Done. It's a good business for the next 1 to 2 years. We'd be prepper. Yeah, the prepper channels always do well. Well, at some point, this may affect property prices. With the stock market down, it's time to invest. Russia said they can do 25 a barrel for 10 years. So Russia's trying to get the Arab nations in check. Saudi Arabia could do it for 10 years. Saudi Arabia could do it for 25 years because these guys are sitting on billions of dollars of cash. So good luck with that, Russia. Mortgage rates took an emergency reduction because of the virus as well. Apple and others are starting to diversify their supply chains. Pretty much blind, and that's the point I will make. China's connected to everyone all over the world. If China's not producing, the rest of the world will begin to suffer. And we're not at that moment, but that moment is going to come when we're going to start noticing that certain things are just not in stock. There's certain things we can't do. All right, Anthony Johnson. Kevin, here's the thing. Here's the big issue that's happening with supply, with China literally shutting down parts of its economy. It's going to take a minute for things to ramp back up. And as some people put in the comments, a lot of companies are looking like, whoa. We can't be so dependent on China. We got to have other supply lines. Short change, they canceled a huge tennis tournament. Oh, yeah. They canceled Southwest by Southwest. There's this tech conference that's been happening in Austin, Texas for 34 years, and they canceled that. And on their website, it's like, we don't have a refund policy. Good luck with that. Uh, Mark Swift, that's what I'm talking about. China produces a lot of the raw materials for our vaccines and our medicines. So it's going to be really interesting. If you drop ship, and this is something that I'm glad you said that, Kevin. If you drop ship, because one video dude did a video trying to drop ship on TikTok, and because of the coronavirus, shipping times have been dramatically increased. So literally, you order something from China, they had got it down where you could get it in 8 days. Now we're back up to 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 weeks. People are not going to wait that long for a product because by the time they get it, they forgot they bought it. Pretty much, Amazon's going to start to feel it because, see, people really don't understand the magnitude of Chinese production. They don't understand how much stuff China makes, and we're about to feel it. Searching for profits. I did not see that. I mean, this kind of reminds me of 9/11. In 9/11, the airlines took a big hit on the chin. I mean, you could get rental cars. I'm talking about like the luxury rental cars for like 29 bucks a day. You could fly ridiculously. Like someone just said, it was $49 from San Diego to New Orleans. Everything is going to be on sale. Sounds like a recession to me. Everything is on sale. And at some point, because people are going to be put in a position when they can't buy properties, this is going to knock the price of some properties down in some cities. Robert Rob, one thing I don't like is all these events getting canceled. I understand that one to spread the disease, but I feel like it's a little overblown. Robbie Rob, now this is where my scientific background comes in, and I used to work in the lab and I used to work with community health. Let's say you had an event like Southwest by Southwest with, I think, like 1 million people coming. All it takes is one person in there to create an infection chain. All it takes is one person. So let's say they have this event, one person who has the coronavirus is there, and he infects 30 people real easy. Then these 30 people leave Austin, Texas, and they go back to their hometown and they infect 30 people. And then those 30 people infect 30 people. And next thing you know, hundreds to thousands to hundreds of thousands of people are infected. So it is not overblown. It's not overblown at all. They're trying to keep this thing contained. And a lot of people are feeling like, well, it's overblown. No, 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 no. This is serious. This is why it's impacting the stock market. This is why, I mean, going back to nobody be talking about this in 3 months. 3 months is when I estimate that we're going to start feeling the pain of all of this stuff coming to head. Pretty much, Kevin. The other issue in play is the public perception of Chinese products. I seen in the article today that beauty supply stores are seeing a serious drop in sales because folks are scared to buy wigs. Let's see. Pretty much, Kevin. AJ, yep. I mean, the cancellation of Southwest by Southwest is going to hurt a lot of businesses. Vincent Stewart, it'll be real interesting. I don't see the world adapting to cryptocurrencies. Kevin, yes. Many of these big companies that use supply chain as their single source supplier are going to make big moves because this is like the airlines are poised to lose over $100 billion, and that number could go up. Airlines are poised to lose $100 billion. BR, yeah, the prices are going to drop. They're going to stabilize. Jay Gamble, the things we're using now from China was shipped out months ago. We haven't seen it. Yeah, that's why I say about 3 months we're going to really start to feel it. Search it for profits. Um, it's a big issue because Trump is scared of this. Pretty much, Diana. A lot of people got to start watching my hand. Robbie Rob, scratching my head. So true. I just got into drop shipping. The increased shipping time hurts, especially being new. Lucky it's about to be spring, so painting will be back on. JB World, thanks for the $20 super chat. Oh, wow. Thanks, JB Well. Yes, the OPEC carnage, because oil prices have literally dropped 31%. 31%. Well, it's very interesting because the coronavirus is it spreads so quickly. Doesn't take much. Rodrigo, since this coronavirus started in China, and China's been impacted the most, China and Italy are two epicenters for the virus. And Italy just quarantined 11 people. 11 million people cannot leave the country. You cannot enter this province. 11 million people. This thing is very, very serious. Let's see. Uh, thank you, JB Webb. Oh, thanks, Mark Swift. Quentin Jackson. I'm not so far to go into conspiracy theories. Power to achieve. Everything is crashing already, stacked up on water. Food is going to get worse. Could be. Could be. I know people that work at the hospitals in Houston. They were not trying to freak people out. Pretty much. Check out the videos coming out of the Los Angeles seaport imports being empty. I think this is going to help resell. People who are reselling American made items, I think that's going to climb. What's up, people? British airline collapsed in the last few days. God is nowhere. Someone contracted coronavirus and they traced it back to their attendance to Southwest Southwest. They've been a PR nightmare. Pretty much. Flights to Italy were 3,000. Now they're 800. Nobody's going to Italy, man. No one's going to Italy. No one's going to China. Robbie Rob, I think it's actually worse than they're putting out. I mean, Jabras, that's what I think. Horcher casting is about to get real cheap. I agree. JB, well, this is going to cause a credit squeeze. Bad. Companies are holding record debt to the cheap credit over the last few years. I really believe that. Well, Power to Achieve, there was an article about how children, and it was interesting how it hasn't really impacted Africa. But if you really think about it, Africa is a warm climate. And, it is interesting because you have a lot of Chinese who go back and forth from China to Africa. And it's really interesting. It's very interesting, but it doesn't seem to be impacting children. And the people who are dying were already, their immune systems are already compromised. And they're usually older people. So typically, because what I feel that they are worried about is this thing mutating. Because this is what viruses do. Viruses mutate, like HIV. There's so many different strands of HIV, and that's how they're able to trace it back to its origination point. Because it's like, if you have HIV and you've got this strand, you got it from over here, or it came from over there. Pretty much, this is what I'm saying. This is the perfect storm for a recession because China, which is the world's economic manufacturing engine, has shut down. A lot of parts of China have literally shut down. In 6 months, I already have shipping this schedule or semi truck, so you'll see it in 6 months. Okay. Because I was figuring it was going to start to crop up in about 3 months. Coin Hawk Crypto. I've been betting on this since the first week of January. Oh yeah, I mean, like right now, airline travel is super cheap. It is super cheap, and one of the things is the price of airline fuel has dropped because oil prices have dropped. Car sales in China dropped 95%. Good lord. Let's see. Yeah, I would agree. I mean, China lies about their currency, so why wouldn't they lie about this? They have 51 cremation locations. The bodies are still not being picked up. I don't know, Mark Swift, why Italy is the second ground zero. Well, it doesn't really seem to be having a main hole in Africa because I read an article where they were worried about it getting super serious in Africa because of the lack of a health infrastructure. But so far, nothing's happened. A hotel miraculous collapse that was holding these cases in China. Sarah Holly, I went grocery shopping the other day. Water bottles were completely cleared out. I'm also a law student in LA, and my classes are now being held via Zoom instead of the classroom. This thing is real, y'all. Erica, I live here in Austin. We have high numbers of Korean, Japanese, and British who come to Southwest by Southwest. Mark Swift, I'm thinking about ordering 2 or 3 boxes of MREs. Really? Eric Williams. So just got off the phone with 6 banks who all checked up on me to see if I need a loan. I know the liquidity is about to dry up. JB, well, from a purely actuarial standpoint, I almost think it's better to just let the virus run its course. Yes, it will affect more people, but the long-term effects of a global collapse are worse. Well, this is what we're talking about because I think the global collapse is already in effect. We got the coronavirus. We have China shutting down a lot of its production. We now have Russia and Saudi Arabia fighting in this oil fight. And now we have the Dow, which has been artificially inflated for a long time. All of the elements are just saying recession, recession, recession. But I do, JB. Well, it would be interesting if they would let it run its course, but they're literally shutting down the economies of the world. Europe shutting down, China's already shut down a lot of stuff. Saudi Arabia and Russia are in this oil fight. I mean, essentially, if you are a person who has a lot of debt, you could be in trouble. Power to achieve. That's interesting. Been the bartender. This has been the people who have been quarantined on cruise ships for like a month are saying that it was insane. It was horrible. So this is going to hit cruise industry because anyone who's doing if you just do a quick Google search, cruises, let's go ahead, cruise quarantine. Reports tell us that's a couple among those on cruise ship quarantine. The coronavirus outbreak, we're past the point of containment. State Department warns against cruise travel. Cruising, cruising ain't gonna be cruising, man. Ben the bartender. It looks like you're not gonna take that cruise. The real James, the Great Depression Part Two is upon us. I mean, that may seem kind of crazy, but you could be right. HIV came from eating green monkey meat raw. That's crazy. Mexico's about to blow up with money. I think any coach, any economy that's in a warm climate where people just don't get cold and flus that much, they're going to be ripe for growth because this is where they're going. Remember this movie where most of the United States got covered. Let me find the name of it. Um, I forget the name of this movie. Apocalypse. I forget the name of this movie, but essentially from New York to North Carolina, the country literally there was this big Arctic storm that just covered the country. Then the president of the United States had to move to the Mexico embassy because DC, New York, they were completely obliterated with this cold weather. I would not get on a cruise ship if you paid me 100K. I would not get on the cruise ship because all it takes is one person on that cruise ship to have it, and the whole ship's going to get quarantined. Pretty much, Kevin. Good thing you bought that insurance, Ben. I would Weedopedia, I would disagree with that. I would totally disagree with that. China is way ahead of the United States in terms of manufacturing. Way ahead. Pretty much, Jabras. Romero, this week is proof why not to have all your investments in the stock market. Amen. Well, Mexico has been manufacturing for years. Remember NAFTA? GM and some other manufacturers have their plants in Mexico right now. And what you're going to see is a lot of these companies are going to move because Mexico has cheap labor, just like China, and Mexico has a good infrastructure like China. And actually, it would be easier to ship stuff from Mexico than it is from China. It'll be quicker and cheaper. So yeah, Mexico's about to blow up. India's about to blow up. Any warm weather climate, and I suspect that certain parts of Africa are going to blow up because because the coronavirus, this is coronavirus 1.0. It's going to be around next year and the year after. So it's going to be really interesting. I think, Adonis, that, with the reduction in flights and reduction in hotel stays, I actually know a few Uber drivers, and they say that it was slow. It's been really, really slow. And now that I'm doing this live stream and we're having this discussion, I begin to see why. Superstar Customs, when this all blows over, will everything go back to normal? Will take months and years. I want you to think about 9/11. How long did it take us to get back to normal after 9/11? Hey, Ben, that's the deal. If there's one person on that ship that's infected, they're going to quarantine the whole ship. Tech, Tech, Nick, it doesn't seem to be getting black people in general too much. Well, one of the reasons is a lot of black folks don't travel. Oh, the Robinhood app went down for 2 days, and a lot of people are leaving Robinhood because millions of their users were impacted, and they could not exit certain positions, and some people lost hundreds of thousands of dollars. Benny, that's funny. Well, Erica, like the Robinhood app literally crashed twice, and it crashed on one of the days that the market plunged, so people could not even get in and exit their positions. Uh, Goddess Knoll, that is not an issue. They will train those people up. Uber and Lyft are paying the drivers not to drive right now. Really? I've never heard of that. Ben, I work in a bar with international guests. I saw a dip in customers as soon as travel bans were announced. About half. That's quite significant. Key feels. Empty store shelves. I'm keep seeing this that people are going to the grocery store and seeing empty store shelves. Well, one of the things is um, I want you guys to go over to Savage Business. We will be talking about this. JB Well, our economy 70% consumer driven. This is going to decimate small business if this continues. Pretty much. That's why I'm doing this live stream. This is the tip of the spear for the next recession. And if this stuff keeps going on, if we keep having these wild fluctuations in the stock market, Russia and Saudi Arabia keep fighting, and China keep, because the big issue with China is they were trying to contain the virus, but the outbreaks or the infected number of people is going up, which means they've not had official containment. And as long as the infection rate keeps going up, Saudi Arabia and Russia keep fighting, and the stock market keeps going wild, we're in for a rough recession because the last recession was caused by housing, the inflated prices of housing, toxic mortgages. This recession is more from a lack of output because China, which consume a large percentage of the world's oil, let me find out how much. How many barrels of oil does China consume per day? China consumes 12 million 791,553 barrels per day of oil as of the year of 2016. China ranks second in the world for oil consumption, accounting for about 13% of the world's total consumption of oil. So let me read this again. As of 2016, China was consuming almost 13 million barrels of oil per day. That was just China, world's second largest, second in the world for oil consumption. I have a feeling that we're number one. Let's see. List of countries by oil consumption. We'll figure out that. Yep, we're number one. So that fact is that the oil consumption went down. It went down because a lot of these factories are shut down. The real James. In the Great Depression, people with no jobs had to work and build here in America for the war. That could have happened again since we get all supplies from China. Short change of stocked up on vodka. Jabras. That's a good deal. Junie, I think the coronavirus is the black swan event that we all been waiting for. I think this will be a depression, not a recession. We're going to see power achieved. There are other types of flu that are deadlier than the coronavirus. It's all planned. What would be the outcome of this plan? Nope. JB Well, China is number two after the U.S. Clear it up for China since this has happened. Oh, I think a lot of things, that prison labor, because a lot of people are going to do whatever they have to do to feed their. So we're going to see crime explode. Well, there's a lot of people who are saying now's the time to buy in the stock market. Um, Once again, be sure to subscribe to Savage Business. And one of the things that I want you guys to understand about the stock market, if you're already in, I wouldn't sell nothing. I would just leave my stock alone. If you're close to retirement, this could be devastating. So, this whole advice, like, it's time to buy stock. How old are you? How close are you to retirement? Where are you on the economic chain? Because if you're close to retirement, this year could be quite a disaster for you. If you're like 20 years old and you're in the stock market and you're not looking at getting this money for 40 years, yeah, I'll leave the money in there. But if you're like an older person, this is a scary moment. This is a scary moment because there was this couple that did, they were talking about their plans. They were going to keep withdrawing 4% of their stocks down to live. But if things continued on, then they have 2.5 years of cash reserves and they will stop withdrawing money from their stocks till they will hit their cash reserve. Now, once again, here's another channel for y'all to subscribe to. Savage Finance. A burner of a video is coming up Wednesday. Superstar Customs? Hell no. So once again, there's so much that is going on right now with the market, and it really depends on where you are age-wise. If you're getting close to retirement, you know, just depending on what you want to do, because I don't think that we're going to see good news economically for a while, because this first of all, let's talk about it, because I'm saying 3 months. There are people in the comments saying 6 months, but at some point we're going to feel the lack of production from China here, and this is going to impact everything. It's going to impact trucking. It's going to impact airline. It's going to impact hotels. It's going to impact you and me. Like Amazon FBA. What is Amazon FBA mostly comprised of? Cheap Chinese products. It's going to affect these Amazon FBA sellers. It's already impacting the drop shippers. The drop shippers, a lot of them, one dude just like, he tried to run the drop shipping strategy and it just didn't work for him because of the delayed shipping times. And here's some news. These shipping times could increase if China continues to have the outbreak where more and more people are being infected. Like, and literally China stays shut down for many, many months. You're going to see drop shippers collapse. You're going to see many people on Amazon FBA who are selling cheaply sourced, the private label sellers on Amazon. Once they run out of inventory and the factory in China that's making the inventory has shut down, guess what? They're out of business. They can't sell what they can't make. You got to understand that this is huge. And as it keeps going and you start to see people as it vibrates through the economy, I mean, this is going to be, and Trump's already trying to blame Obama. It's the funniest thing. Now, bling bling, like I said, if you're buying stocks for your kids who are looking at like 6 decades before their retirement age, yeah. Jabras, actually, I'm going to do this video on Savage Finance talking about you can have $200,000 in dividend paying stock. That 200K is going to get you about $7,000 to $8,000 a year in dividend money. You can have a $200,000 rental property, same money, and that rental property is going to get you about $18,000 a year. We're talking about $11,000 differential. And if you pull out property taxes and insurance and maintenance, like say 10%, you're still $10,000 ahead. Same investment money, same level of investment money, but way more returns. Now, if you, and this is if you had $200,000 in dividend stock and you had $200,000 rental property, both paid off. And the rental property outperforms the stock market in that regard. And one of the reasons that a rental property has maintenance and things you have to do, that's why a lot of people don't want to get into it. But once again, Jabras, if you're 55 years or older, I would really be looking at that because the market could take many years to recover, because I feel that we're going to have a big drop. I don't think the biggest drop has happened yet. I think it's going to happen, and we're looking at many years for it to recover. I don't think it's going to be like it has been historically, because historically we have not had all of these events. We did not have the oil and price war with Russia and Saudi Arabia. We did not have the coronavirus, and we did not have we just didn't have all this stuff happening at the same time. The last recession was brought upon by toxic mortgages that literally banks around the world had bought. And when these mortgages went bad, all these banks lost money, and this created this recession. That was just one event. Now we have China shutting down, oil and price war between Saudi Arabia and Russia, and this coronavirus. So we had one singular event which caused the last recession. Now we got three. And I agree that this one's going to be rougher than the last one. Junie, there's some people who couldn't retire during the last recession. They're still working today while trying to recover. This will seal their fate. I try to warn the youth at my job to learn about the stock market and stay away from the investment retirement option. Yes, Ms. Finance, people need to be looking at the portfolio, because the advice of staying in the market, buying more stock, it really depends on where you are and how old you are and how close you are to retirement. Oh yeah, Diana. That's one of the things I noticed, that it was old people who were getting the coronavirus that were dying, and these old people already had issues. This is who it was killing, and most of the people who get it recover. Ben the bartender. The stock market took an L like this about 15 years ago. I saw thousands of people lose half more of their retirement dollars in the market. Be real. Living in New York City, if you don't watch the news, you will never know there's a virus going around. People are out and about like nothing's going on. But go to check the flights out of New York and check the prices. I guarantee you they've dropped. Joshua Hill, Alibaba is definitely hurting. The world will feel the pullback in Chinese consumption. I really agree with that, Jabros. Lola Grace. That was this is why I never supported capitalism to the extent of our main goods and supplies being made in a foreign country for cheap labor. Lola Grace, the that move in starting in the 70s, in the 80s, and really taking flight in the 90s of offshoring our shipping capacity killed the middle class. My uncle Martin, who grew up in lower Alabama, LA as we called it, he was able to leave Alabama, go up to Detroit, and within a year of working at the GM, which he retired from, was able to buy a house, get married, and have a family. And this he never graduated from high school. This was due, and so many people in America did this. They went from being poor to middle class because of the robust manufacturing base that America once had. Back in the 50s and 60s, the second largest economy in the world was Detroit because all the cars and stuff they made there, and they shipped these products around the world. And once we, I will agree to your point, Lola Grace, that once we got rid of that, we just put a knife in the back of the middle class. It was just a matter of time. We let it slowly bleed out. The timing in this items in terms of the election is hilarious as well. Trump is freaking out. Trump is freaking out. Amanda P. I mean, a lot. This isn't the time to get into drop shipping. Really be real. That's interesting. I am Chase. How would this affect products that can't sell products? Company are going to have to lay people off. And every time one of these events happen, there's going to be less because, like your credit score, like a 10-point differential, 10 points could be the difference between you being able to get a mortgage or not being able to get a mortgage. And each time people are going to fall lower and lower and lower, and there's going to be less people who can afford mortgages. If the economy collapses, 2020 Trump will not happen. Like I said, Trump is freaking out. Stop struggling now. Going to once again great topic and spot on about all topics. China manufacturing when it should have been Mexico. Notice how the stock market halts when the wealthy hedge funds are losing money. Pretty much, it goes bananas. Miss Finance, you're seeing a lot of foreclosures. Well, in Florida, there was this article out about Florida. Let me bring it up. The Fed may cut interest rates all the way to zero. That really tells you just how bad it is. Study: almost no one in Miami makes six figures, excluding probably you. Since you mentioned Florida. Today is payday for many of us. It's sacred day. We can go out and spend too much money on food and alcohol, or both, before waking up tomorrow, checking our bank accounts, and regretting our life choices. If you're making six figures, you might regret spending your spending habits a little less, but not the reality for most people live in Miami. Do we live in a glitzy and glamorous city? Not many of us are making the big bucks. A recent report based on data from the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics shows only 3.1% of the jobs of South Florida pay six figures compared to the 6.7% of jobs nationally. What? This is, since you mentioned Florida, I just read that this morning. Jay Diggity, that's funny. Blue chip, I'm 31. It depends on what time you want to retire. Because typically, I will be getting into this onto the personal finance channel. The timing of when you buy stocks and when you don't buy stocks. Because if you're really close to retirement age, your portfolio should be very conservative. Short change, I agree 100% that 30K is going to look like 300K soon. Keep stacking, because those who have cash, when all of this stuff melts down, everything is going to be cheap. I remember with 9/11, after 9/11, you could get cars super cheap. At one point, I didn't have a car and I was renting cars. Was that 9/11? Let me think. No, that wasn't 9/11. That was before then, but it was so cheap to rent cars. We have Alibaba warehouses in Texas. But see, Erica, the problem is they're still manufacturing in China. Because I know they have Alibaba warehouses in California as well to cut the shipping times. But the problem still goes back to the fact that the stuff is still manufactured in China. So at some point, those warehouses may literally be sitting empty because they're just going to stop producing the stuff. So it's going to be real interesting. We opened China to outmaneuver the Soviet Union at work. The problem is we didn't pivot back and ask China. China might be asking itself. Huh, that's very interesting, Jay Diggity. Yeah, I'm going to be covering a lot of topics on Savage Finance coming up real soon. But these are all of the ingredients we need for a recession that are happening right now. So, what are you going to do? If you start a small business, you want to start a business online. You do not want to open up a physical location, because hopefully that this will be contained and it won't blow up. Because if we get to the point where we have numbers like they have in China here, we're going to see a lot of stuff shut down. We're going to see a lot of stuff like, All right. Flights from Atlanta to Italy. 1400 from here to Rome to Venice, Naples, Florence. The cheapest flight from Atlanta to Italy is $55. On average, you can expect to pay 1100. The most popular ride, Atlanta, Hartsville, Jackson to Rome, can usually be booked for 487. Now, let's compare that to London. Flights from Atlanta to London, $589, $692. Air France, 806. Now, I'm going to tell you, I went to London in 2017 and I used points. I used points to go down that trip, but the tickets were 1500 to 2000. The prices have dropped to a third of what they used to be. A third. Pretty much, man. Let's see what Bitcoin's doing. Because I don't keep up with Bitcoin like I used to. Whoa. Whoa. Bitcoin is crashing. A few days ago it was $9,000, almost 10,000. Now it's 7,000. Over 26 billion wiped off cryptocurrency market in 24 hours after massive oil price plunge. I'm gonna buy some cryptocurrency because it ain't really tied to anything that's going on in the world, right? Psych, it is. That's insane. That's insane. Yeah, a lot of people have been putting pictures of Bitcoin ATMs. It's very interesting because Bitcoin is supposed to be impervious to these market forces. Psych, it's not. So if you didn't understand how Bitcoin pricing works, when the price drops, that means a lot of people sold their Bitcoin. And when the price rises, that means a lot of people are buying Bitcoin. I think a lot of people were taking profits because if you bought Bitcoin when it was like $3,000 and it went up to 9,000, that was like $6,000 profits. So I think a lot of people took their profits off the table because if you're going to be with Bitcoin, you cannot be a long-term holder. Not today. You got to you when the price drops like to like 3,000 or maybe even 25, because I had predicted it was going to drop to like 3,000 and it did. If you're in the cryptocurrency game, that's the time to buy. And when it gets doubles his money, sell and then buy back in when it loses money. Pretty much, Ben. Pretty much. Once again, be sure to this is the Savage Finance channel. Be sure to subscribe to that channel. And the Savage Business channel. I'm going to give you that link too. Be sure to subscribe to that channel as well and hit the bell notification because I'm going to be talking, on Savage Finance about investing because essentially the way that I'm setting up the channel is I'm doing foundational stuff, like stuff you need to do before you become an investor. Many personal finances channels will just put out, hey, you can invest $1,000. And I'll give you a scenario. Let's say you got $70,000 in consumer debt, including your car payment, credit cards, and a few installment loans and student loans. You're not in a position to be an investor. Yeah, you got some money. You could put like $100 a month into investments. You could put $200 a month in investments. You really want to be in a position where you could put $1,000 to $3,000 a month in investments. Why? Because when you could put $1,000 to $3,000 a month in investments, you can do in 10 years what it takes 4, 5, 6, 7 decades to do putting $100 away. So you could do it in 10 years or you can do it in 50, 60, 70 years. Same thing. It's just the amounts because this is what the FIRE movement is predicated on. Because a lot of members of the FIRE movements are high income earners, and that's why they're able to put away so much money so quickly and get to a sizable portfolio very quickly and be able to retire early. It's just simple math. And I'll be talking about that whole process. No, that's not me, Roderick. Power to Achieve. I'm really out of the Bitcoin prediction business because I don't study it like I used to. I used to study Bitcoin every day. I used to take screenshots because I had people on my page. Because when the whole Bitcoin thing came out, I was saying like I'm not buying Bitcoin. I actually bought Bitcoin, sold it at the top of the market. I look like a genius now, and I didn't buy back in. And I had people fighting with me on the page like, "Why aren't you buying cryptocurrency?" It's like, I don't need the money. I already make a lot of money. I'm good. Hello. And there was this whole fascination because I had this who's trying to dog me out, like, well, if you were so smart, you would be hedging. I was like, fool, I don't need the Bitcoin money. I got money. I don't need it. What is up with you folks? The desperation, the fear of missing out was so bananas. And everything that I said about Bitcoin was going to happen has happened. But I'm not really on it the way that I used to. So I don't know how low it's going to drop. Big time dope dealers in America, really? So, one of the things I want you guys to understand is even with all of this is still the time to start a business because these are large global supply chains that are being disrupted. Like Alibaba is a multi-billion-dollar per week company. They make billions of dollars per week. So, there's always room in the economy for a small and fast, nimble player. And one of the things is you don't want to be in a lot of debt. Pretty much. We get these folks who come in who are just like, "Wee, look at me, wee, look at me, look at me. I want attention because I'm a child." Terry Henry, I'm definitely following you on the debt payment pay down piece. I just got my wife's Capital One down to a zero balance and mine down to like $35. Yeah, because see, this is something else that's going to happen. For those of you who have cash and good credit, and I'm going to be discussing all of this stuff at Savage. Let's see, I think that's business channel. We'll make sure business channel. I think that's Savage Finance. Let me copy it and make sure. because I will be talking about all of this stuff. Yeah, that's Savage Finance. Be sure to subscribe to that. And this will be Savage Business. Be sure to subscribe to that as well. Because on the personal finance channel, I'm going to be doing a lot of stuff that's pre-investing. Because like I said, if you've got 50, 60, 70, $80,000 in debt, like my ex, she's contributing to her 401k, but she's probably got between her car, her student loans, like $90,000 worth of debt. Economically, when you sit down and crunch the numbers, your portfolio is really not appreciating because you're losing money because you're paying this interest on this debt. And I had this conversation. I was like, you need to get rid of this debt. You need to do this, do this. You need to stop using the ATM card. She just wouldn't do it. And this is one of the reasons that my long-term prospects for her diminished over time, because I'm like, I have a debt-free lifestyle. I've got not one, but two vehicles in the garage that are paid for. I don't have any credit card debt. I don't have none of this stuff that you have. But we just could not get on the same page. Stock FOMO is crazy. Pretty much Americans onto investing like everything is Silicon Valley on hope it works out instead of fundamentals. And this is one of the reasons that I didn't fall for the cryptocurrency trap, because if you bought in, because I got my Bitcoin at like 80 cents in 2010. So if you bought in early and you bought I really wish I had bought more. God, I wish I had bought more. At 80 cents, I could have bought I could have spent $100 and been set up. But I just bought a little bit and held on to it because I didn't know what was going to happen. And one of the things that you have to understand is where you are economically. And like I said, I'll be talking a lot about that on these channels. So go ahead, subscribe to Savage Business. Go ahead and subscribe to Savage Personal Finance, and I will guide you through these whole things, because one of the things that I feel is missing in the personal investing space is, when do you invest in the stock market? And also, there's going to be a blog coming up where I can go even deeper with some of these topics, because for those of you who want to start a YouTube channel, YouTube is very funny because there's a way to make a blog grow and there's a way to make a YouTube channel grow. And essentially, you could be in trouble if you post videos every day, because essentially every time you post a video, this resets your channel. So videos need time to breathe. And this is why 1 to 2 videos a week is optimum for the new YouTube. Because at one point, you could put up a video every day and YouTube will reward you, and they would put your videos out and they would push them out all across the platform. And now that's changed. So right now, you're better off with 1 to 2 videos per week and kind of space them out so your video can breathe and perform. Because what happens is, each time you release a video, that resets your channel. And this channel, it's already what it is. I'm going to keep doing these live streams quite frequently because, I simply don't care. But one of the things that's going to happen in the future, let's see. All right, Derek R. That's pretty much. That's good to go, Dill. I got 10,000 shares of gas and paying three. Terry here, I'm following your advice on credit cards over debit cards. We use our American Express for groceries and utilities and mine for gas and phone expenses. Terry, what you want to do since you're married, you want to use one credit card. Both you and your wife use the same credit card to get your max points. So you could have your wife put you on her American Express as an authorized user, or you could put her on your reward card, and this is how you get the most bang. I'm gonna do a video about that on Savage Finance. Pretty much, because it's going to dry up. It is this free credit, this excess liquidity. It's going to definitely drop. See, Jigny, I think China is already in a recession. They haven't had because the official term of a recession is two consecutive quarters of downward output. They've shut down a lot of factories. I mean, this is a self-imposed recession. So if they go ahead and shut down more factories in the next quarter, they're going to have two consecutive quarters of reduced output. That's a recession. And also, one of the things is what I will tell you guys is you want to, that's crazy. You want to be as cash positive as possible. Yeah, I'm not like Dave Ramsey with credit cards and stuff, but what you want to do is, because I'm going to do video. Look for this video Wednesday on Savage Finance. Um, I'm going to be talking about super credit, and it's going to be a very, very different video. So look for that Wednesday. Hers is a personal card, yours is a business card. Doesn't matter. You want to channel all of your spending through one card. If I was married, I would put my wife on my Chase Sapphire and tell her to do the same thing I'm doing. And we'll just get more and more points because there are many people out here who want to play the credit card game. Like, I think American Express has it like if you buy groceries, you get 5 times the points. Let's go ahead and take that apart. So average couple, let's say you spend $400. Let's say you spend $400 a month for groceries times 12. That's $4,800 times 5. That's 24,000 points in a year. All right. Let's just say you spent 10,000 bucks a month across all these categories times 12. That's 120,000 points a year. So you're better off, unless you can get one card that gives you 5x points and puts them in the same bucket with your other points, then that makes sense. But typically, you're better off using one credit card and just using it heavily. That's the ticket. Pretty much, Apple Mac. There's articles about these shadow cities in China with all these buildings and no one lives in them. Well, the Fed was talking about going cutting the interest rates again just today. I use a personal credit card for everything. because currently I'm sitting on 104,000 points. After this month, I'm gonna be at like to 115 on my chase. And once I start buying advertising and stuff for the business, that's going to dramatically pop up. So once again, be sure. All right. So be sure to subscribe to Savage Business and Savage Finance. The links are in the comments. And I will see you guys later.